Since ancient times, stories of great leaders and their achievements have inspired generations. Among these leaders, King Solomon stands out as one of the richest and wisest men to have ever lived. The son of King David, Solomon not only inherited a kingdom but also a promise of wisdom and prosperity. His most visible legacy, the Temple of Jerusalem, remains a symbol of his grandeur and spiritual and architectural vision to this day. But what can the journey of this legendary king truly teach us? Let's explore the 7 principles that guided Solomon throughout his life and reign. Principles that can inspire us to seek excellence in our own lives. Who was King Solomon? Within the vast panorama of ancient history, few figures are as impressive as King Solomon. The son of David, the iconic king of Israel, Solomon not only inherited the throne, but also a legacy of profound leadership that he would significantly expand. His rise after his father's reign was marked by promises of peace and prosperity, highlighted by his famous request to God, wisdom above all. Solomon is celebrated not only as a ruler, but as a symbol of wisdom and opulence. During his reign, Israel reached the peak of its wealth and cultural splendor. He was recognized for his ability to make astute decisions, his diplomatic skills, and unparalleled discernment. His era was a golden age characterized by stability and economic growth, where arts and sciences flourished extraordinarily. As mentioned earlier, one of Solomon's greatest legacies was the construction of the Temple of Jerusalem. This temple was not just an architectural marvel, but also a powerful symbol of religious unity and spiritual focus for the Jewish people. Built to be the earthly dwelling of the Ark of the Covenant, the temple stood out as a center of worship and religious teaching, consolidating Jerusalem as a sacred site that attracted pilgrims from distant regions. The construction of the temple, however, was more than an architectural feat. It was a manifestation of Solomon's vision and spiritual aspiration, setting the stage for us to explore the principles that guided his life and reign. But what are the 7 principles of King Solomon? Let's explore that now. The first principle is vision and grand dreams. Dreaming big was a defining characteristic of Solomon, evident in everything he undertook, from grand architectural projects to the economic expansion of his kingdom. Imagine the audacity to build a temple so majestic that its fame would endure for millennia, serving not only as a place of worship, but as a symbol of a people's very identity. Solomon's dream of building the Temple of Jerusalem was a clear example of how a grand vision can become a tangible reality. But Solomon's vision extended beyond architecture. He also dreamed of creating a commercial empire that would strengthen the economic foundations of Israel. Through strategic alliances and a well-developed trade network, he expanded Israel's reach to distant nations, bringing wealth and prosperity to his people. This commercial aspect of his reign shows how Solomon understood that a clear and comprehensive vision was essential for the long-term success of his kingdom. The principle we can draw from Solomon's approach is that having a clear vision is indeed the first step to achieving greatness. It is this vision that guides every decision, every action, aligning them with a greater purpose. When you have a clear vision of where you want to go, every choice and every effort significantly contributes to that larger goal. Solomon teaches us that, to accomplish extraordinary things, we first need to dream extraordinarily. This understanding pushes us to reflect on our own dreams and aspirations. How are we defining our goals? Are they big enough to challenge our capacities and expand our horizons? Inspired by Solomon, we can start to shape our own visions with courage and clarity, laying the groundwork for achievements that may resonate through time, just as those of King Solomon did. The second principle, wisdom in decisions. Solomon is often remembered for his exceptional wisdom, a quality that defined him not only as a ruler, but also as an icon of justice and discernment. The story of the 2 women and the baby is perhaps the most emblematic of his sagacity and ability to resolve complex dilemmas. 2 women came to him, both claiming to be the mother of a child. Solomon, facing this seemingly insoluble conflict, proposed to divide the baby in half, giving one half to each woman. One woman agreed with the solution, while the other, motivated by genuine love for her child, begged the king to give the entire child to the other woman, thus revealing herself as the true mother. This episode is not just a testament to Solomon's cunning, but also a profound lesson on the use of wisdom in daily decisions. Solomon used his understanding of human nature to see beyond appearances and reach the truth of the situation. More than a simple demonstration of intelligence, it was an act of deep emotional and moral discernment. Solomon's ability to make wise decisions extended across all aspects of his reign, from matters of justice to administration and trade policies. He understood that each decision could have wide ramifications, influencing not only the present, but also the future of his kingdom. This understanding highlights the importance of making informed and thoughtful decisions, a principle that is applicable both in the ancient courts of Jerusalem and in modern life. In everyday life, wisdom does not manifest only in grand acts of judgment, but in the many small choices we make that shape our lives. Whether in personal or professional decisions, discernment is crucial. It allows us to navigate the complexities of life with clarity that protects our values and furthers our goals. Like Solomon, we can strive to develop a wisdom that is not only intellectual but also emotional and spiritual, recognizing that every decision carries the weight of our responsibilities and aspirations. Inspired by his story, we are reminded that true wisdom lies in the ability to see beyond the obvious, reaching solutions that harmonize heart and mind in pursuit of the greater good. The third principle: wealth through alliances. King Solomon not only understood the intrinsic value of wisdom and justice, but also recognized the crucial importance of strategic alliances in expanding the wealth and influence of his kingdom. He skillfully used marriages, treaties, and commercial partnerships as tools to strengthen Israel's position on the international stage. One of the most notable examples of Solomon's diplomatic skill was his marriage to the daughter of the Pharaoh of Egypt. This marriage was not just a marital bond, but also a political pact that symbolized the peaceful alliance between Israel and Egypt. This strategic move not only ensured peace on Israel's borders, but also opened vital trade routes that allowed for the influx of wealth such as gold, horses, and spices, which were fundamental to the commerce of the time. Moreover, Solomon formed alliances with neighboring and distant kingdoms, establishing commercial agreements that benefited all parties involved. For instance, he collaborated with Hiram, king of Tyre, to acquire cedar wood from Lebanon, essential for the construction of the Temple of Jerusalem and other grand projects. These partnerships not only facilitated the acquisition of rare materials and goods, but also strengthened political and economic ties that promoted stability and growth. Solomon's approach shows that the wealth of a nation or organization often depends on its ability to collaborate and form networks. In the modern world, this lesson translates into the importance of networking and strategic partnerships in business and careers. Collaboration can open doors that would otherwise remain closed, create opportunities for innovation and growth, and build a supporting foundation that can withstand times of uncertainty. Thus, like Solomon, we can seek alliances that not only expand our immediate resources, but also build a lasting support network. These connections, when strategically cultivated and maintained, can be the key to achieving and sustaining long-term success, both for individuals and organizations. Inspired by Solomon, we learn that true wealth often resides not just in the assets we accumulate, but in the relationships we cultivate along the way. The fourth principle: justice and equity. Justice was a central pillar in Solomon's government, reflecting his deep understanding that the true peace and prosperity of a nation derive from a just and equitable system. Solomon not only applied his legendary wisdom to individual judicial decisions, but also structured the government in a way that promoted equity throughout the kingdom. Solomon's reign was marked by an unprecedented period of stability in Israel, which many directly attribute to his fair policies and the way he administered the law. He implemented systems that ensured everyone, from the wealthiest to the poorest, had access to justice. This approach not only strengthened the people's trust in his leadership, but also ensured that conflicts were resolved fairly, which in turn maintained social order and harmony. Solomon was also known for his ability to listen to all sides of an issue before making a judgment. This careful and considered method reinforced the idea that everyone in the kingdom had value and equal rights under the law. This practice not only increased confidence in the justice system, but also promoted a sense of inclusion and mutual respect among citizens, fundamental for social cohesion. The relevance of justice and equity extended beyond the borders of Solomon's own kingdom. His reputation as a just ruler attracted leaders from distant lands who came to seek his counsel and learn from his methods. This, in turn, strengthened Israel's international position, promoting the country as a center of wisdom and moral justice. This principle of justice and equity is eternally pertinent. In our modern society, we continue to see that systems promoting equitable justice provide greater stability and prosperity. Solomon's lesson teaches us that when leaders and institutions place justice at the center of their policies and practices, they not only improve the quality of life within their borders, but also contribute to a more just and peaceful world. Therefore, following Solomon's example, we can reflect on how justice and equity are administered in our own communities and systems. By aspiring to fair treatment for all, we can work to build a society that not only flourishes economically, but also lives in peace and harmony. The fifth principle, resource management. Solomon's ability to manage resources efficiently was one of the pillars that supported the success and expansion of his kingdom. His administration not only managed resources wisely, but also maximized their potential to enrich and strengthen the entire nation of Israel. One of Solomon's greatest challenges was the construction of the Temple of Jerusalem, a massive project that required not only materials like cedar from Lebanon and fine gold, but also a highly specialized workforce. Solomon demonstrated his logistical skills by organizing thousands of workers and artisans, and by establishing trade agreements with other kings, like Hiram, king of Tyre, to secure the necessary resources for this endeavor. The efficiency with which he managed these resources not only ensured the completion of the temple, but also kept the economy stable, avoiding depleting the royal coffers. Beyond construction, Solomon was also astute in managing the tributes from vassal states. He implemented a tax system that, while ensuring a steady influx of resources, also maintained stable diplomatic relations. This balance between demanding tributes and maintaining favorable political alliances showcased his ability to use diplomacy to strengthen the kingdom's economy. Solomon also excelled in the direct management of the kingdom's natural and human resources. He instituted systems of agriculture and trade that maximized the effectiveness of the use of land and available trade routes, ensuring that natural resources were utilized sustainably and productively. These resource management strategies are tremendously relevant today. In a world where resources are often limited and demand is high, the ability to efficiently manage what we have is crucial for any leader or manager. Solomon's lesson teaches us that careful and strategic management can maximize wealth, not just in financial terms, but also in the overall well-being of a community or nation. Inspired by Solomon, we can look at our own resource management practices. Whether on a personal level, managing our finances and time, or on a larger scale, in businesses or governments, applying principles of efficiency and sustainability can lead us to more balanced and lasting growth. Solomon's story highlights that true prosperity comes from the ability to manage well what we have, turning available resources into extraordinary outcomes. The sixth principle, lasting legacy. Solomon not only ruled with wisdom and efficiency during his lifetime, but was also deeply aware of the legacy he would leave for future generations. His desire to positively impact not only his own era, but also the future is evident in his many initiatives, from grand constructions to significant contributions to literature and knowledge. Solomon's constructions, especially the Temple of Jerusalem, are perhaps the most emblematic examples of his desire to create enduring structures. The temple was not just a place of worship, it was an architectural marvel intended to be a spiritual and cultural landmark for all the people of Israel and visitors from distant lands. This ambitious project reflects his understanding that physical constructions can transcend the utilitarian and become enduring symbols of a culture and its values. Beyond his architectural achievements, Solomon also left a legacy through his contribution to literature, with works that remain an essential part of the biblical texts, such as Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and the Song of Solomon. These texts not only offer insights into Solomon's wisdom and philosophy, but continue to guide and inspire millions of people in moral, ethical, and existential matters. Solomon was also a reformer, implementing policies that optimized the administration of the kingdom and improved the lives of his subjects. These reforms not only solidified the power and prosperity of Israel during his reign, but also laid foundations that would support the kingdom after his death. This focus on leaving a lasting legacy invites us to reflect on how our own actions and decisions can influence the future. Each choice we make, each project we initiate, each word we write carries the potential to impact not just our lives, but also those of future generations. Solomon teaches us that thinking about our legacy is not a matter of ego, but of responsibility towards the world we will leave behind. Inspired by Solomon, we should ask ourselves, what kind of legacy do we want to leave? How will our actions today be remembered tomorrow? And most importantly, will they contribute to a better world? These are powerful questions that can guide our lives towards a deeper and more meaningful purpose, encouraging us to live in a way that our marks on the world are as lasting and positive as those of the wise king. The seventh principle: humility and acknowledgement of mistakes. Despite Solomon's many virtues and successes, his reign was not without flaws. Like all great leaders, Solomon had his moments of error, and his ability to recognize these slips is a testament to his true wisdom and humility. This aspect of his story teaches us valuable lessons about personal growth and the importance of learning from one's own mistakes. Solomon, in all his wisdom, made mistakes, especially in his later years. He deviated at times from the laws he himself was meant to safeguard, allowing and even partaking in practices that contradicted the precepts of his people, such as the worship of other gods, influenced by his many political alliances through marriage. These deviations caused discontent and instability within his kingdom, and historical and biblical texts suggest that they contributed to the difficulties that arose after his reign. Solomon's ability to recognize these faults, as reflected in writings attributed to him, such as Ecclesiastes, shows a man who, despite his riches and power, understood deeply the complexities and challenges of the human condition. He expressed regret and reflected on the futility and temporality of many of his own pursuits. This introspection highlights the importance of looking inward and learning from one's own mistakes, a practice that Solomon ultimately embraced, even if it had been later in his life. In this regard, Solomon teaches us that true wisdom is not only about making the right choices, but also about recognizing when we fail and taking corrective actions. The humility to admit mistakes is crucial for personal growth and effective leadership, as it paves the way for learning and continuous improvement. Facing our own mistakes is not an easy task, especially in a world that often values perfection. However, Solomon's story encourages us to see each failure as an opportunity to learn and grow. Instead of hiding our flaws, we can embrace them as an integral part of our human development. Reflecting on Solomon's failures and his journey toward recognition invites us to consider how we can apply this principle in our own lives. How can we be more receptive to the learning that each mistake offers? And how can we cultivate the humility that is necessary to recognize and learn from our missteps? Thus, as we conclude our exploration of Solomon's principles, we are reminded that continuous growth is a journey that requires both acknowledgement of our limitations and celebration of our capabilities. Solomon, in his wisdom and humility, offers us a model of how to live a fulfilling and reflective life, always open to transformation and personal improvement.